Hey guys, today I want to talk to you about this story by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. It's called The Most Handsomest Drowned Man in the World. So let's get started. The story begins on the seaside of an isolated fishing village where these kids play with a recently discovered corpse. Adults see this and take the corpse away, noting how big and heavy it is.
Man, it's like a horse.
The men of the village travel to neighboring villages to see if the corpse belongs to them, while the women prepare the corpse for a burial. As he is being cleaned, the women notice how big and handsome he is, and they begin to fantasize about him, secretly comparing him to their own husbands. However, their admiration soon turns to compassion and pity, and they give the corpse the name Esteban. Yeah, that sounds about right. When the men return, they are first irritated by the women's fascination, but when his face is unveiled, they also understand. So, they end up throwing him a big funeral, he gets adopted by a village in the family, they drop him in the ocean, and the villagers are forever changed, inspired by Esteban to improve their village infrastructure and vegetation. Now, I can sit here and really get in depth about this little story, but time restraints are a real issue, so I'm just going to hit a few things that stuck out to me. Let's dive into characters. On the surface there's not much there, and Esteban is the only one with an actual name, but maybe there's something to that. The men and women of the village are simple, fishermen with not much going on. And Esteban is in fact only characterized by superlatives, both good and bad, showing that he's clearly a stranger compared to the rest. Their nameless quality just emphasizes their plainness and insignificance in the presence of something so grand and almost mythological. The setting described at the beginning of the story informs us of the characters to come as well.
Foster connection! Oh yeah!
The villagers live on a small island, isolation, in old wooden houses, indifference, with no flowers around. I'll get back to that. And this melancholic atmosphere parallels the villagers' own uneventful lives. I did some digging on the name Esteban too, but the most I could find on that was a reference to who was the first African to reach the shores of America. But really, I think any reference or significance of the corpse's name is just to emphasize the otherworldly quality of it, and how the corpse is, quote, out of the realm of the villager's imagination. Now, I want to talk to you guys about this cycle of emotional projection that goes on throughout the entire story. From the very first scene, where the children imagine the corpse to be a boat and a sperm whale, Esteban is a vessel for the villagers' own emotions and thoughts. The women's fantasies about Esteban actually reveal their own deep-seated desires and discontent. Their shift towards sympathy and compassion doesn't come until after they name him and essentially give him an identity, which causes them to change their narrative for him. Sort of like our obsession around celebrities and the manipulation of the media and tabloids.
Text to world connection!
The men go through a similar shift, but in reverse. Their initial disdain for Esteban reflects their own insecurities about their manhood, and their shift comes out of reverence for him. This relationship illustrates an interesting perspective on masculinity. But I'm low on time, so maybe ask us later. The final projection comes at the end, but this time Esteban's grandness and size helps the villagers realize their own indifference, and they are now motivated to make the village worthy of someone like Esteban. I think these shifts, along with Garcia Marquez's style of magical realism, present the relationship between dreams and reality. Esteban is just a corpse, a dead body, but that doesn't stop the village from becoming infatuated with him. Instead of smelling like death and decay, he only smells of the sea, and it seems like his body keeps on growing after death. Hyperbole? Esteban's alien-like grandness in such a dull village might parallel how the ideal nature of dreams clashes with the harshness of reality. The women's ideal fantasies, like dreams, are broken when they start to think about the burden that Esteban would have had to suffer in reality. However, the story does end on a hopeful note. The villagers vow to change their home, wanting to fill it with flowers, and even though we don't see this happen, we know that like a flower ready to blossom, the villagers now see their own flaws. And Garcia Marquez tells us that new dreams can come out of the dust of broken dreams.